Hello, hello. Lyndol Descant here, coming to you with a new kind of recording platform for my Tuesday video to talk about I Dared. I believe this is my sixth vlog. I'm just trying to talk about the ins and outs, the inside, outside, and in particular the collaborators. That's what I've been sort of focused on the last few weeks. Talked about the artwork, which was actually not me. I mean, collaborators and myself. I did the artwork, but I had an incredible designer, Mary Wages, put it together for me and create the templates for all three trilogy that really I just love. And we'll see some of that today. And then I talked last week about Eric Norcross, who did a great music video for me on that. And the video, as well as the vlog, is up on my YouTube. But really, I'm kind of have been a one-man show, largely, and was actually intending to be a one-man show for this trilogy series that I've talked about. It was 3 albums that I wanted to do of my original music, and I set this intention and goal really long time ago. And as many things, it took a lot longer than I anticipated, especially this last album, I Dared, which was just released on 6/22. And so that's part of the reason I'm talking here. I'm just getting it on the record for kind of why it's so unusual how I've been releasing this and doing this, but also because there was this surprise element of producer Colin Hua. Because originally I was going to produce the albums myself, basically. Casey Holford was in on Reach Up, and I can actually share my screen here and show you these albums. I found this little ditty. I think you can see that. So yeah, these are the 3 albums. Reach Up, All Love, and I Dared. Those were the 3 albums that I sort of set an intention for a long time ago, and things kind of just came together, all original pieces. The first 2 albums, actually, I didn't mention this, they each had a children's song on it. I was so heavily involved with education as a music teacher and a lot of different creative formats with children and supplemental education. And so they each did, but I Dared there was an extra track that I did, but it wasn't a children's, it was an instrumental going back to analog. So we'll talk about that, but these albums, all originals, plus kind of an interesting one on each one, 9 songs each. They originally were just going to be my productions mostly, with the vocals recorded by Casey Holford and mixed and mastered by Casey Holford, but all the rest of the production was mine. And that was the intention. It was supposed to be self-produced. That's why they were called Depo LBs. It was my own conception of a cross between an EP and a demo, with LB standing for low budget. Because these were back in the hustle days of New York City. I was playing, I was teaching, I was out all the time. I just didn't have the budget, didn't want to crowdfund for it. And that was the original intention, but I became friends with Colin Hua, who this video is going to be about. And he, originally we became friends because he was producing his own album coming out of, I believe, NYU, getting like a master's in sound engineering. And he had an album and he was looking for singers, and we hit it off immediately. I remember we met at one of the rehearsal rooms at NYU, and if you ever get a chance to meet him, he's so full of life, one of my favorite people. And we immediately just hit it off. And I think he was actually surprised, like, as a singer, that I knew piano. And I just remember him commenting like, "Oh, you're a real musician. Okay." And so I did collaborate with him on that album, but he had also declared in that very first audition that we were going to be friends. And I think it was probably the football and the politics, American football and politics, that really set him off to it, because Colin is from China. He's an American citizen now. And I can't remember if he offered, I don't remember how it happened, because we were just friends, hanging out, collaborating, have worked together on a lot of different things, mostly music space. And so for my album All Love, he offered to produce the title track All Love. And so let me actually go there. And so I'm using this platform today so I could go, like, for example, here's my Bandcamp page, lyndolbandcamp.com. It's my Bandcamp, and it has most of my discography. There's only one, actually there's two released CDs or albums that that are not up here, but everything starting with my Trilogy series is up here. So for example, we can go to all of my album, and I believe here you can actually, I'm not sure how much, we'll see together, you can listen to a little bit. So here's All Love, the album, or the song that he produced. Locked out, left out, never really fit in. I'm lonely, baby, where are you? Life's been full of trials, missteps, and dead ends. I can't believe how wrong I've been. I would have sworn I was convinced, but was the only one who was seeing straight. All right, so I learned from the last video that I did that if I'm playing the music and trying to talk, you can't really hear it. So I'll be a little bit better about that one in this video. You're going to hear Colin come in with his guitar. So when he produces for me, basically the way that it works, and I don't remember specifically because we're talking like over a decade ago, I believe, when he worked on this one or somewhere near that number. You'll hear from the other songs on this album as well as my Reach Up album, what my productions sound like. And he basically, depending on the song, and they're all different in a way, I'll send him with the rough or, my production, and then he takes it from there. In some instances, he's just, using a different sample on a certain instrument. In other cases, as you're going to hear coming up, like he'll actually add in a lot more instrumentation. He'll change the drums, all kinds of things. And then he even would record the vocals and mix and master them for me as well. My life hasn't stopped me, I'm still doing great. So that's All Love, and that was, I don't want to spend too much time on that because this is really more about the next album. So, I loved what he did so much on that. He enjoys working with me. And so we worked out a deal for the next album, I Dared. Even though it's still a Depo LB, we just decided that he was going to produce the whole darn thing. Now, there is an exception to that. There's one song that I did the production for, and he mixed. No, he didn't even mix it for me. He mastered it for me. And that is going back to analog here. But he, I just love, first of all, he's an incredibly creative producer. He is out of the box, and he's worked in a lot of different industries, including K-pop. He does a lot of different things. But what I like about him is he just kind of takes each song and just creates exactly the way that I love to collaborate, right? It's very minimal touch. It's very little me telling him what I want. I can give him a few, rough outlines on things. But for example, one of the first ones we did off of this album, which we sort of started, I think that's how it happened, is we were in COVID. Everybody's kind of stuck at home. He was looking for something creative to do at the time. Because his production work was maybe slow at the time. And I was ready to get this album out. As I've spoken before, I had most of them, my mixes, my productions were done. They were composed. They were, for the most part, recorded, though we did do some vocal recording. And you know what? That reminds me of getting some pictures of him. I'm going to find some pictures of him and show those at some point. So, yes. Love to New York was probably the first one that we worked on. And this one, he really went out. Now it's my piano. It's my piano playing. He doesn't change my piano playing, though there might be times that he edits it a little bit or changes the actual sample of what's being played. I've also heard at times where he'll take licks out of what I do in my piano track, and then he creates more of the instrumentation that way with that. So you'll hear my piano playing, but then you're going to hear, like, he almost comes in like full orchestra here with his community. Kissed by the wind on a perfect fall day. Worries fall away. Never ever been more understood than here in New York. So yeah, that's the kind of beautiful touches that he brings in, and that's he can go any direction. That he, doesn't specialize, from what I understand, in any one area. He will just hear a song and go the direction that he thinks the song should go. And I'm actually going to go now to my Spotify. So those are really the two main places that I'm sending people to hear my music is my Bandcamp, which I just showed you, and now I'm going to show you my Spotify. I think that's where people are listening to music. I do believe I'm also, I'm back on my Bandcamp. I do believe I'm also on Apple and Amazon, but I did not do the on every single option you can be on through my distributor, because like I said, I've got involved with some bad deals in the past, and I guess they weren't a big deal, but there were certain places that were actually claiming copyright was with my distributor, and they weren't naming me as the copyright. It was just all making me uncomfortable, because it's just, you're dealing with such big mechanisms, and you're so far removed from the process that I just figured this time I would keep it on only a few of the streaming platforms, and I'm really mainly just promoting Spotify and Bandcamp. And then of course you can hear them also for free on my YouTube and get to see the music videos too. But just to show you, here we are at my Spotify. Now my Spotify doesn't have it in the order of the actual album. I guess it has it in number of streams, or I don't really actually know. I probably need to get in here and figure this out. But it does have the title track first. So why don't we talk about that? I mean, we don't necessarily have to talk about it in the order of the album, but I Dared, this was one that I've talked about, that I really gave more clues to him for what I wanted, and I didn't have it as laid out actually in my own production. This one he kind of did a lot of the heavy lifting on, and he did such a great job. So let me play a little bit of it, and I want to use Spotify because I can sort of jump a little bit. So we'll jump a little bit here. All right, so this is my piano lick. You'll hear that a lot in my pieces, some kind of piano lick that it's built around. It starts out soft. He sort of brings in some light touches in there, but originally it was, just me and the... 'Cause what is a living, good loving fun, not just doing what you're told to do. I did, it came true. So yeah, so that kind of gives you an idea of the basic, I did just describe this to him, and I wanted it, and I gave him Evanescence as a little bit of an example, a few other examples, but I wanted it sort of like this girl hard rock feel where it was soft, but then came in hard at the chorus, I Dared, and it continues, and then you have this kind of dirty sounding guitar, which, you also can hear in some of my other things. He's great at adding this really mean, dirty sounding, good organ or guitar solos that I just love. And a lot of other, listen, it's incredible if you really get in and you listen with some good headphones, which I was going to show you. I've got some great headphones I'll have to recommend at some point, but it makes such a difference when you hear really what he did with the full arrangement. And let me skip to some of the guitar solo. And you hear the little star bring out at the end, and he just brings it back down to a soft landing. And so this is the title track, I Dared. And this is just an example of where I can just give him a few clues, a few sentences, a few examples, and he just took it exactly where I wanted. We have very, very little back and forth. I mean, really, most of the time, what he sends me is like, that's it, that's great. There's very few changes to what he does or how he envisions a song. So it's so fortunate to have a collaboration like that. Let's look at a few other ones. Cloudless Sky was one that we really went chamber pop on because we wanted to keep it the most stripped down. Almost could have gone as just piano and voice, which I've done on some of my albums that just have at least one song that's just piano and voice only, so you kind of hear how I'd be performing it in a solo setting. And you can hear, I mean, this is me, right? I mean, he makes it sound better. I'll be honest. He makes. What if the real? Listen, I can't say that's entirely me, like, unedited. Like that's where these producers are so great at just really bringing out the best in our sound and our voice and our playing, etc. So that's just me and the piano and voice. Where the people are kind, nipples burst and loves set you right. Make my mind like a cloudless sky. I think, so even at this part of the song, it's still just me and piano for the most part. I mean, he's putting some subtle things there in the background. Let's go a little bit further. So if you really listen there, you can hear, like, not only is it a string section that he's putting in there, but it's also like a pad of a choir, but he just does it so subtly and so beautifully. I didn't even catch it. It just adds this heavenly sound. And this is a song about meditation. And so it really was supposed to be relaxing and, heavenly and ethereal. And he perfectly captured that in what we've been terming chamber pop, type of sound. No drums, no rhythm. I believe cello, but I'm not sure how much actual stand-up bass. So maybe someday I'd be able to do a show and actually really talk with him about what he did. But today it's just a quick overview to kind of show the touches that he added to my album so that I can really give him credit for his creative genius. Another song, maybe the one that he just went the most interesting on, was Mercy. I didn't even hear it as this. This was a song that I wrote during COVID about neighbors and stuff, and he took it to a gospel, more of a gospel, and he actually got some teachers together at a music school, and he had us all, I mean, he put together like a virtual choir, kind of like he had us, we weren't together singing, he brought us in separately and then pieced the voices together as a gospel choir, and it's just extraordinary. I never thought. So the bass on this one is really interesting. And that's all him. I didn't have those. I do write bass lines, but typically I'm working on them getting a little bit more interesting. This bass line that he does on this is so cool. It's that right feel. I still don't even know what feel it is, because even though it's a gospel pop, it's also kind of like country a little bit too, and country blues. I'm not sure really what you would even call this, but it's exactly what. Mercy is what we need. Mercy is what we need. Guilt. So in there you hear that there's horns, there's choir. I mean, he just goes all out, and I freaking love it. It's the feel, you know what I mean? It's just, he nails the feel of what I'm trying to express in a song. And he just brings it to its full bloom. That's how you can describe it. And I guess that's what the best producers do, right? They just bring a song and they hear it, and they allow that flower to fully bloom open with all of these sounds and support of the melody and the message. Beautiful, made a mess. Now, this is what's interesting about this one. I have since written another verse for this because at the time that I gave this to him, it was very short. It was two verses, no bridge, and it was short. And so that's where I think he came up with the idea of the gospel choir you heal. He kind of extends the end and does this very interesting breakdown and turns it into just this beautiful mantra. But you know, when I perform it live now, there's a whole nother verse that gets put in there because I created that later when I was performing it live. But at the time, this was a very new song, and I think I just really liked it and threw it at him, whereas a lot of the other songs that he was producing I had been around for, you know, a few years at that point. I'd had really had time to develop them.
Guilt is overwhelming for everything we've done. A little mercy and some kindness has begun.
So that's all Colin, and I love that. I think it's so super cool. When I'm playing it out live, I don't necessarily do that, but maybe at some point I will have a live show with the choir and go for it on that level. It really gets churchy. It's great. It's interesting, and the song ends it up 3 minutes and 13 with that breakdown. So that's Mercy. The next one that we're going to look at is just Trauma Storm. Like I said, this isn't necessarily the order that they're in on the album, and I do recommend the album. It's a journey the way that it goes through it. So maybe another time I'll talk about that. But Trauma Storm is one of the. So I know I wrote this one in 2017 because that's when Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, and it was a song I wrote in reaction to being in New York when all of my friends and family were dealing with just horrific scenarios. But that wasn't what affected me. What really affected me was how positive they were all being and how resilient and how much community and how there was just these stories, including even my brother being rescued by a boat, just people banding together. It's like, you know, you sometimes in the midst of these traumas that people are facing, you are reminded of the beauty of humanity and the way that we really do care for each other. So that's what the song was about, but it was a minor blues. And what he did with it and what I love, because I had used, this one was not piano. Let's listen a little bit. I played E piano. So I played E piano on this one.
Just piss and blame. Fall guy.
It's very,
Always
so I think he might have even slowed it down a little bit. It was always a slow B minor blues, but I think he slowed it down even more. And then this is where he brings in an organ and he brings in this like Louisiana back swampy blues sound to it that I freaking love.
what's gone before. Oh. Reason my family tree got flooded in toxicity.
Yeah, so it's a double time feel there. So like even though the actual rhythm is really slow, he's got like the rhythm moving in a way that it doesn't feel like that, and it's just so cool. Let me see if I can get
Cause we're holding up each
let me see if I can
other.
do the organ. So that's him on the organ, and I just love it. It's freaking killed it. So this is the talent. This is the way that he really added to my music. This is what producers can do, and especially as I'm going through this right now, and I'm thinking about where I'm going forward in music, I'm going to continue to develop myself as a producer myself. But I also recognize, and I've been learning lately about, through some opportunities I've had that I'll maybe share at a different point, about really, if you want to go to the next level, it's about community when it comes to music, and it's about collaborating with each other. What we're trying to do with music is so far beyond any one of us that we need each other. And that's actually what Trauma Storm is about. We don't stand alone anymore because we're holding up each other. And I was alone in a lot of this for a long time, and I wanted to do these 3 albums alone because I really do actually enjoy working alone. You know, I realize now though, and I've been saying this in a few different ways, COVID was a really good thing to happen to me because it forced me into several scenarios where I needed to start to, um, collaborate with more people, involve more people in my life. Like the walls of my life are sort of busted down for various reasons, personal reasons, professional reasons. And I have been forced to get better at collaborating. And I'm recognizing now where some of that is a preference. I am somebody who just loves being alone and loves working alone. But I also recognize that some of that was coming from a rigidity and control issues that I need to let go of. Because, to really go to the next level with an art form, we need to get out of our box, and we need to be forced to grow and expand and become bigger. And also when we're collaborating and we're all putting our creative energy into something together, the synergistic effect is incredible. So I'm so thankful. That's maybe, I'm going to stop the video there, and I'm going to consider doing like a second half because we really haven't gone over the rest of these songs. So this is maybe a part 1 for Colin Hua, and then maybe we'll take a brief look at some of the rest of the songs on the album, because each collaboration, each song is its own story when it comes to how Colin and I work together on the production. So I think that I'll stop there for this week, and then we'll start again for next week.